Over 150 million copies sold. That number alone puts The Alchemist in a category shared by only a handful of books in all of human history. But here is the part that almost nobody talks about. Paulo Coelho could not find a publisher for this book. He was rejected, dismissed, and told his story had no commercial value. The very book that would go on to become one of the best-selling novels ever written was nearly never read by anyone at all. In the next 10 minutes, you will discover the core lessons buried inside The Alchemist, why this simple story about a shepherd boy has changed the lives of millions of people across every culture and continent, and the one idea at the heart of this book that sounds almost too simple to be true, but turns out to be the most difficult thing most human beings will ever attempt. Stay with us, because one of these lessons might completely reframe how you see your own life. Paulo Coelho was born in Rio de Janeiro in 1947. Before he became one of the world's most celebrated authors, he was institutionalized 3 times by his parents who thought his desire to be a writer was a sign of mental illness. He was also imprisoned by a military dictatorship for his artistic and political views. He lived a turbulent, painful, and unconventional life. And it was precisely that life that gave The Alchemist its soul. He wrote the first draft of the novel in just 2 weeks in 1987, claiming the story was already written in his soul and simply needed to be transferred to paper. A small Brazilian publisher printed 900 copies. Sales were so slow the publisher dropped him. Coelho refused to give up. He found another publisher, and then something extraordinary happened. The book began to spread word of mouth, person to person, across Brazil and then across the world. By the 1990s it had been translated into dozens of languages. Today it holds the Guinness World Record for the most translated book by a living author. The story itself follows Santiago, a young Andalusian shepherd who has a recurring dream about a treasure buried near the Egyptian pyramids. He consults a fortune teller, meets a mysterious old king named Melchizedek, sells his flock, and sets off across the Sahara Desert in pursuit of that dream. Along the way he is robbed, falls in love, works for a crystal merchant, joins a caravan, meets an Englishman searching for an alchemist, and eventually encounters the alchemist himself. The plot sounds almost like a fairy tale. But layered inside that simple adventure story is a philosophy of life that has resonated with readers across every background, religion, age group, and culture. So what are the actual lessons? The first and most central lesson is the concept of the personal legend. Coelho argues that every person is born with a personal legend, a unique purpose or destiny they are meant to fulfill. When you are young, you know exactly what this is. You feel it as excitement, curiosity, and passion. But as you grow older, the world gradually convinces you that your dream is impractical, impossible, or selfish. And so most people abandon their personal legend before they ever truly pursue it. Santiago refuses to do that. He leaves behind comfort, safety, and the life everyone else expects him to live in order to follow something he cannot fully explain but cannot ignore. Coelho's message is urgent and uncomfortable: the greatest tragedy is not failure. The greatest tragedy is never trying. The second lesson involves the soul of the world, which Coelho describes as an invisible force that connects everything in the universe. When you pursue your personal legend, the universe itself conspires to help you. This is perhaps the most debated idea in the book. Skeptics read it as magical thinking. But look more carefully. What Coelho is really describing is the way that committed action changes everything around you. When you make a real decision, not a wish, but a decision, you start noticing opportunities you were blind to before. You attract people who can help you. You develop skills you did not know you had. The universe does not literally rearrange itself, but your perception of it does. And in practical terms, that amounts to nearly the same thing. But here is what nobody talks about. The most important scene in the entire book is not when Santiago finds treasure. It is when he is robbed on the very first day he arrives in Africa. He loses everything. Every coin he had. He is stranded in a foreign country with no language, no contacts, and no resources. Most people, at that moment, would turn around and go home. And Coelho is asking you directly, what do you do when the pursuit of your dream costs you everything you started with? Santiago does not go home. He works for a crystal merchant for almost a year. He learns patience, resilience, and the value of small progress. And in that time he actually transforms the merchant's entire business. This is the third lesson: every obstacle is part of the path, not a detour from it. The losses, the delays, the failures, they are not punishments. They are preparation. They are the universe testing whether you actually want what you say you want. The fourth lesson comes through the character of the Englishman, who is searching for the alchemist but refuses to engage with the world around him. He buries himself in books. He believes knowledge alone will unlock the secrets of alchemy. The alchemist eventually tells him what he needs to know but cannot learn from books, that the secret is in the doing, not the reading. This is a sharp critique that Paulo embeds carefully in the narrative. You can study success endlessly. But at some point, you have to cross the desert yourself. The fifth lesson is about love. Santiago falls deeply in love with Fatima, a woman he meets at an oasis in the Sahara. He considers abandoning his quest to stay with her. But Fatima herself tells him to go. She tells him that a man who gives up his personal legend for love will eventually grow resentful, because the longing for that unlived dream never truly disappears. Real love, Paulo argues, is not something that asks you to diminish yourself. Real love supports your becoming more of who you are meant to be. This is counterintuitive in a culture that often romanticizes sacrifice. But it rings deeply true. The sixth lesson is about the language of the world. Paulo suggests that everything around you is constantly sending you signs and signals. The movement of birds, a stranger's offhand comment, a coincidence that feels too meaningful to be random. He calls this the omens. Most of us have been trained to dismiss these moments as superstition. But what Paulo is really pointing to is the practice of attention, of paying close enough notice to your own life that you can recognize what is pulling you forward and what is holding you back. The alchemist who can read the soul of the world is simply someone who has learned to pay attention at an extraordinary level. The seventh and final lesson is the most quietly devastating one in the whole book. After all of Santiago's trials, the theft, the year of labor, the desert crossing, the wars, the transformation, he finally reaches the pyramids. He digs and finds nothing. And then he is beaten by thieves who mockingly tell him about their own recurring dream, a dream about treasure buried beneath a tree in Spain. In an old abandoned church. Exactly where Santiago's own journey began. The treasure was home all along. Paulo is not telling you the journey was pointless. He is telling you the opposite. Without the journey, Santiago would never have become someone capable of recognizing or receiving what was always waiting for him. The treasure is real. But you cannot claim it until you have become the person the journey makes you. The alchemist endures because it does not pretend the path is easy. It acknowledges the fear, the loss, the doubt. But it insists, firmly and without apology, that the pursuit of your personal legend is not optional.